deep down in her heart is mean and bitchy as she is outward. It's all just because she got hurt and she doesn't want to hurt anyone else. She doesn't want to be hurt again in relationships. It's just her defense mechanism for sort of like porcupine's struggle.
Porcupine's dilemma.
Very good.
My OTP.
Alright. Kyoko's philosophy borrows heavily from the Nietzschean philosophy. Most notably, I have referenced the book Beyond Good and Evil for the sake of the fact that, we're going to hit the next slide, for the concept of the Übermensch. Now, what the Übermensch means in this society, in this particular context, is the concept of the overman. Now, according to Mr. Nietzsche, a very bitter and very depressed man, that the ultimate morality comes from liberating oneself from common notion of morality. As in, there is no God or church or adhere to political or political philosophy that you adhere to. That you are above all else because your beliefs, your opinions are of the ultimate sort. And in order to become the person that you want to be and need to be, you must make it so that you are above the law, so to speak.
By the way, just for the disclaimer, this is where we get into the heavy shit.
Yep.
Back to mommy for a second. Ultimately, all of the ultimate protagonists are savior figures, or they believe they are. We've got mommy, who believes herself as guiding other Puella Magi to become saviors. She goes out of her way to kill familiars because they can cause damage as well. It doesn't matter that she's not getting a grief state from them. We see Hamura, who goes through time countless times in order to save the future, basically. We've got Madoka, who completely sacrifices herself in order to eliminate witches off the face of the map. And we've got Sayaka, who believes she is becoming Kamijo's savior and following in the footsteps of Mami by fighting the familiars instead of it, as well as the witches. They're all seen as sort of types of Christ figures, even if they're not true saviors like Madoka was, because there is an amount of sacrifice there as well.
Kyoko introduces the concept of the Übermensch, like I've stated before, that ultimate selfishness is the higher moral ground. But I say this out of a sense of parody because she kind of projects this to the world in excess. Like she's really exaggerated about her survivalist mentality and philosophy, which ultimately kind of shows the type of tension that happens inside of her. This is what she, like this slide says, this is what she'd like to believe, but this really clashes with her religious background, which she really and honestly believes in her heart of hearts. This is completely polar opposite to Mami's kind of ultimate good self-sacrifice, which also has a hint of that sort of selfishness of I don't want to die alone, that type of mentality. I'm kind of taking over this part of it because
Yeah, this is his bag.
all right, so theology major for one semester, right? I have to use it somehow. So the Übermensch versus Semiticism. What does this entail? We have, like I said before, the concept of selfishness is the ultimate end goal, and the Übermensch has the connotation of completely ignoring, not only ignoring, but vilifying common moral ground. Humanity is just a byproduct of our implied selfishness, which is how we base all our relationships. When we're in a relationship with a female, all we want from her is her ability to perpetuate her ego. That's the argument that Nietzsche brings up, like that type of thing. All our relationships are based off what we can get out of it. What's in it for me?
And again, this is completely relevant to Kyoko and Sayaka's relationship because, well, Kyoko sees Sayaka as trying to have the same sort of relationship with Kamijo. She helps her along. Kyoko also sees some sort of return in helping Sayaka because not only is she going to have an ally, but she's also going to have a return to that ideal lifestyle that she had when she was a child. She's finally found some sort of common ground with another human being. She's found some way to return to her humanity.
Whereas Semiticism brings upon the concept of delayed gratification, which means we don't get our reward in this life. We get our reward sometime after we die, or maybe even like later on in our lives when we reach a very old age.
One of the reasons I see Mommy as being so selfless is because she believes she's living on borrowed time. From the very beginning, she doesn't really have any sort of self-preservation. She goes out of her way to try and save all those around her. Again, we can see this when she goes out and tries and fights the familiars. She's deliberately putting herself in danger's way. There's also hints that she has met with Kyoko before. I can't remember.
This is also a very traditional Christian type of mentality, where you're living on borrowed time. The time that you have is not your own. And what you're doing in this world is to perpetuate goodness, to perpetuate self-sacrifice, to help others, and to try to dissuade yourself, which is kind of like also that kind of paradoxical, like selfish dichotomy, because you're doing it for the sake of the fact that you're expecting a reward later on in life. Which brings about the real question: where's God in this? Where is God in Madoka? Is God really dead, as Nietzsche argues? Is God no longer relevant to this world, to any world for that matter?
We're going to argue that no, in this anime he is not, because hey, I got the mouse.
We're going to play good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, I say no because Hamura is omnipresent. She is a god figure in this. We can see this in the way that her relationship with Kyubei plays out. Kyubei is always the tempter, and Hamura keeps going back through time to try and save Madoka from the tempters.
And I'm going to be bad cop and say that even though Hamura exists as an omnipresent figure, she is ultimately useless. Because how does the end result happen? Madoka still becomes the figure that she was destined to become. That ultimately everything that she's done throughout the entire series is absolutely for naught, because Madoka just embraces her reality. But there's also that kind of thing where, like, is she a total failure, or does Madoka become the inevitable figure that she's going to become in a different light that is portrayed in different timelines?
Which brings us to our next question: was God really alive in this scenario? Which, well, you just covered that.
Also, there's the concept of one becoming one's own god, which is the concept of Madoka becoming the figure that she needs to be in this world. I must see God in this world, therefore I must become the god of this world.
Here's we have a question.
I just want to argue the point about Homura being useless. Kyubi is really explicit that Madoka's incredible potential is because Homura has been going through all these timelines. So all the power that's been built up through those timelines has been building up with Madoka. So if that hadn't happened, Madoka would have just been your everyday magical girl the way she was the first time. And not God, or whatever you want to call her.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, which is what the second appendix of that was, is that she's not in the sense of what she's initially trying to do, which is to stop all aspects of Madoka becoming a mad guy. She actually accelerates the process and strengthens the process. So in actuality, her end result is the antithesis of what she wanted, which she's probably not conscious of.
I think she didn't want Madoka becoming a witch, was the thing.
Right.
Well, in the third timeline,
As a result, to add to that comment, which is a great comment, is that she actually succeeds in that aspect, in the sense that she doesn't become a witch. She becomes something by far beyond everything that she expected to be, albeit kind of inadvertently. She becomes the God presence that we wish for, one of the aspects of the God presence.
And this is where we see Homura not actually being godlike, because she is not completely aware that this would happen. She is not completely omniscient.
Which is, one of the main plot devices. Yeah, I know. I know. I tend to be But the Faustian Pact, the concept of creating the contract, all that stuff, the genie's dilemma, all of this is going to be outlined later on in QA, hopefully in some way, shape, or form. All of this relates to a type of, I find to be like a type of deism. The concept of deism being that there is a God, it created the worlds, it will ultimately end the worlds, but in between, it's completely up to us in how we want to make the world what it is. He doesn't really care. He just kind of sits in the background, twiddling his thumbs, going, "Okay, what's Bob gonna do today? That's kind of interesting. Bob's kind of an interesting person. I'm just gonna watch him. I'm not gonna do anything to help him, but it's kind of like my favorite TV program. It's that type of philosophy."
And then we have the last one. Is it just an unknown deity? Which essentially that's what Madoka becomes. She becomes this abstract form of a concept. Thank you. That only Hamura in the end knows about. She is present in the very beginning. She is present in the very end. But that's it. Other than that, there's no way to know of who she actually is. Now, I believe that's all of them. Oh, no, we have one more. Does God create themselves?
Which I kind of touched upon already, which is the concept of we become our own gods, which is a very Nietzschean type of thing, where the only gods that exist in this world are the gods that come from the world, in the sense that our leaders, our dictators, our people of great power become our gods. The symbolism that we create are our gods. As a weird, sarcastic type of thing, the most prevalent, the most, prosperous type of things can be seen as gods. Do we not worship our cell phones in some way, shape, or form? Do we not have millions of applications on our phone at any given time? That concept is where do we spend our time? What do we appreciate? What do we take for granted? Those type of concepts, where we realize that, we spend an exorbitant amount of time with these things, which can be considered a form of worship.
She created her own God. And that's the end of the slides, actually. So we are now going to
We could talk about so much more, but I want to talk with you guys. So let's just get a Q&A about everything and anything about this show.